The fantastic Claire with me today, Claire Boss. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing it right, but she can totally pull me up on that when we get into it. So just to touch on Claire and where she is. So she's awarded #3 top global customer service gurus. She's 3 decades of expertise. Claire is an authority in the customer experience industry. She's author of 4 books, with the #1 bestseller in 2020, Thrive with the Hive, Thriving by Caring, The Secret of a Mystery Shopper, which I'm really excited to delve into, and launching in February 2022. So we're in March now. BizShui, Shui, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but again, Claire can pull me up on that. 9 keys to Feng Shui in your business for success. She's an international media influencer, and her work has been published in Brazil, the Philippines, India, and US. She's spoken over 20 countries, and if you haven't checked this woman out as a keynote speaker, her energy is contagious. So I've watched a couple of her videos, and boy, does she bring the energy to stage. So if you haven't watched them, definitely check them out. She shared the stage with a lot of customer experience celebrities, such as Ron Kaufman, which we all know, Shep Hyken, and she's the winner of the Institute of Director Award. She's also former director on the board of BAG and MSPA. She brings a very different and holistic approach to customer experience, which I personally haven't seen before in her BizShui method, creating flow in businesses by integrating the blend of the traditional Feng Shui and principles of modern and personal business. So this is something I'm really interested in, again, because I haven't seen it in the market, especially over here in Ireland. So I'm super excited to delve into this a little bit. So thank you so much, Claire, for joining me this morning. It's an early morning, and I'm super excited to get you on and to talk about, I suppose, customer experience and what that looks like, and a little bit about your books, because you have so much experience there, Claire, and I'm really interested as well about the mystery shopping piece, because I heard your story. You were working in Disneyland. You're from in France. You were over there. I actually visited there myself with my son before. It's fabulous over there. And you'd family that were in the restaurant business, and you spoke a lot about that, and I suppose you were always in that industry, and you spoke about the guys coming to do a Michelin grade on the restaurant, your family restaurant, and how you were really looking forward to that. And I just thought it was really interesting, because when we talk a lot to business owners about finding your why, Claire, you knew your why from a very young age, which was absolutely phenomenal to see that go through the years, I suppose. What does it mean to you, the whole customer experience, I suppose, and employee experience? What have you seen over the last, I suppose, decade or longer?
Yeah, I think it's all about care, really. It's all about caring for people, and generally caring for people, not just saying it, you're doing it, and then you're really not doing it. It's about putting your employees and your customers in the middle of everything that you do, and it's, there's so many ways that you can do that. It's finding your own way, which, will follow your own vision and your own mission and your own values. And those are really important. And we kind of sometimes put them on the wall because it looks good, on a pen, because, we've told that marketing wise, it's great to have core values. But actually, if you don't recruit your employees following your value, if you don't actually purchase items and product following your values, if you don't deliver that service following your values, it's kind of really wrong in many ways. So it's great to have values, but it's putting those values and really what you cherish with your employees and customers, and making sure that everything you do thrive by them.
Yeah. So you had a program, and I'm interested in this because my background is I've been in retail. I was in retail management for 14 years, and I think when you're in that industry, you do see certain shifts, you see certain movements, you see the way the industry changes. If I go back to 2006 when I kind of started, I'm like, it's such a different marketplace now to what it used to be. And you started a program in 2019, and it was around the caring service culture leadership program. Can you talk a little bit about that? What does that mean, or how does organizations implement that? Because what you touched on there was the values and that, but what do you think your program around caring, what does that do, or what does that entail?
Well, it's interesting because really since 2019, my program has changed. And again, I think the pandemic has brought so much to the forefront of people. And if anything, I hope that if anything, this pandemic has showed us is we need to care, right? And we need to really, make our employees feel that, we're caring for them, whether they work at home or whether they work in an office environment. We need to really kind of make sure that they feel good in where they are so they can deliver that great service. So really, it's been a bit of a switch. It is and it isn't. It's an evolvement. I've evolved now. It's been 13 years I've had my business, and I've evolved so much because of what we're living, the business demands, but it's also about creating new ways to bring more care into the businesses. So from the start of my core business, which was always mystery shopping, so it was always about that measurement, that understanding of what, the service look like. But actually, when you're delivering that product, that specific service, you're realizing that actually there is no training being done, or there's no employee experience journey mapping, there's no customer mapping. And you realize that actually the mystery shopping should come quite late in the development of your employee and customer strategy. So it's been moving towards a lot more about understanding what people want and need, and being able to give them that, making it very much more personalized. And I think, last year was quite a bit of a real shift in terms of the things that I talk about, because I have been hiding for probably about 10, 11 years now, the fact that I'm a Feng Shui practitioner. So you said it, I say Feng Shui because I'm French. So Feng Shui is good. Feng Shui is good. And at the time, I've always felt if I talked about Feng Shui into a corporate environment, they'll look at me thinking, Claire, you've gone totally woo-woo, right? What's all that about? So I used to call it environment psychology. I used to kind of, look at different ways which would make more sense for corporate. And so again, I think the pandemic has made us realize how much our environment affects us, having to work from home, having to work from a side of a bed or a kitchen, and, not having your little routine has really disrupted so many people around the world, that we're realizing that the environment has an effect on us. And we are a lot more, organizations are looking a lot more of alternative solutions to really help the employees feel better so they can deliver that great service. So that was a big change in my method last year, was to bring that kind of Feng Shui method and blend it with a personal taste of being, and blend it with a customer experience. So that's a real fusion between those ancient Chinese principles with the modern business needs, really.
And for anyone out there that maybe doesn't know really what Feng Shui is, and they're going, I've heard of it before, but I don't really know what it is. I think it's a little bit about not being cluttered, but I don't really know what that means in my business. Can you put that into, I suppose, an example or a perspective for people that maybe have heard of it, but don't really know how it's relevant to their business and their bricks and mortar business, maybe?
Sure. So, you're walking in somewhere, into a shop, or, it could be a hotel, restaurants, anywhere. You're walking in and suddenly you just go, oh, you don't know why. There's something subconsciously who's telling you that it doesn't feel right. So your subconscious, your right brain is telling you, warning, this doesn't feel right. You go in, you do whatever you've got to do, and then you go out again. Well, this is the pure principle of it. Feng Shui, it's about creating an environment where people are going to feel good. And so for an organization, when your employees feel good, they're going to be engaged, they're going to be coming to work, they're going to be productive, they're going to be creative, they're going to bring all those ideas into the business. And for the customers, well, if your customers feel good in your shop, they're going to buy more, they're going to stay longer, they're going to recommend you to their friends and family. So it's kind of suddenly you're looking at the environment and how things are potentially positioned, the color that are used, the environment that is actually created around. And this is what Feng Shui does. Feng Shui, it's really an alignment of the energy, the outer energy with the inner energy of a business.
Okay. And if we were to put that into context, I suppose if we go into a store, for example, and they have a lot of floor equipment, and you walk in and there's a table facing you and there's a lot kind of coming at you, and is that kind of, would you say that's not in keeping with that? Maybe we're looking at more open plan spaces, more, what does that look like from a retail perspective? From walking in as a customer, or from a retailer going, right, how do I get my store Feng Shui? I've heard it's really good for a customer experience. How do I get that right on my shop floor?
Well, the easiest way is to stand at the door, shut your eyes, take a big deep breath, open your eyes, and use your 5 senses.
Okay.
What can you see? What can you hear? What can you smell? What can you touch? And how does it feel? And by this, I mean, you need to look at the lights. You know, what are the lights? Where the light is going? You know, how is the floor? You know, have you got wooden floor perhaps? You know, where's the floor taking you? What are the colors that you've got? Where's the materials that you're using? The principles of Feng Shui is using the 5 elements of nature. So you want to bring nature inside. So the Chinese knew they couldn't live outside, otherwise they'll get eaten by animals, right? But they knew that they had to bring the nature inside. So you're looking at, do you have some wood? Do you have some fire? Do you have some earth element? Do you have some metal element? And do you have some water element? So if you're looking at a retail space, for example, you may have wooden floor or some plants everywhere. Plants are beautiful. You could have the color green, which represents that growth and nature. Then some fire element. You want, you know, and a business has to be, wow, it has to have some kind of, you know, va-va-boom, you know, to get their customers going. And, you know, if there was too much yin energy, you would have all your customers and all your employees falling asleep. So the fire element brings that home. So you would want to have maybe the lights, some candles, some red, you know, some kind of fire element, which will, you know, bring some that yang and energy. And then you've got the earth element. The earth element is all about grounding. It's all about, you know, making sure that things are restful, and, you know, you've got that you need to, so you could have some stones, you could have some, if you've got plants, you would have soil in there. That's the grounding element of it. Terracotta pots, those kind of things. And then metal is all about your mental. And so when you're walking in somewhere, so for example, think about somewhere, perhaps you see some of those offices all white. You've seen some of those offices, which is very in fashion, white desk, white walls, white chairs, everything is white. And suddenly they wonder why their staff is overstressed and completely, they can't focus because there's just too much of that metal element. So you need to have a little bit of that. And the water element, of course, you know, you go to a Chinese restaurant, there's always a nice fish tank welcoming you. The water element, it's all about movement. It's all about prosperity. It's all about bringing some of that flow into business. So the 5 elements work really well. So if you can bring some of those 5 elements within your environment, you have a super good start in your Feng Shui journey.
Amazing. That's really, really good. Really good tips there as well for people to actually nearly like a checklist of their business in keeping with that. And it's quite funny because I've seen a lot of visual merchandisers. You'll see they use a lot of plants now. They use a lot of those props in the business inside, and it does bring it to life, definitely.
Yeah, and it's about colors, it's about shapes, it's about material. So it's not, it's not just about the furniture that you use. It's about the whole. It's everything, that you're using, from the material, the curtains, the rough. How are the desks? Are they soft? Are they marbles? Are they cold? Are they hot? Are they, all those things make a real difference. And when you go in the different shops and you start having that awareness, you feel it as well when it's too cold or when it's too yang energy. You go into some of those shops which perhaps the smell is just takes over and you can't smell anything because it's just too much smell. Right, you may need to balance this out, and then you go somewhere else and perhaps there's just too bright and too much light, and you're like, whoa, this is just don't stop attacking me. So finding the right balance between all those elements, and of course the yin and yang, it's what we want. We want a balance of yin and yang, the feminine energy, which is all about the emotions. You want to connect with your customers on an emotional level. You want to have employees that are going to use the connect and actually build rapport with their customers. You want to have some of that emotional connections, and using the five senses is really good. And the yang energy, it's of course it's the masculine energy, it's the neocortex brain, the left brain, and it's all about the analytic and the doing. So of course for business, you want to have a bit more yang energy so people don't fall asleep. But when your staff or your employees go for a break, you want to create an environment which is going to be a bit more relaxed, a bit more yin, so they can take a break and actually breathe a bit, recharge the batteries a little bit. So finding the right balance between the element. It's the same in your home. If you're looking at your kitchen, you're going to have a lot more fire in your kitchen, right? You're cooking, you're feeding your family, it's all fire going. You don't want that kind of energy in your bedroom, right? In your bedroom, it's all about calm. It's all about resting. It's all about recharging your batteries. So you need to find the right balance. And that's what Feng Shui helps you do, whether it's in your business or whether it's in your home. They're both mirroring your life anyway. So, they work together, which is really, really interesting.
It's really interesting to hear that. And I suppose businesses you've worked with that have implemented this, what changes do they see happening when they do something like this, Claire? I suppose what can we see if we implement this for people that haven't really used it before and they're thinking, okay, if I was to go out and do this now, what impact does that have? I suppose what changes occurs, or what have you seen from doing it in businesses? I know you touched there on that it was more you said it was more around the environment that you used to word it before you came out of the closet as such, as a Feng Shui practitioner. You said you would talk about this to organizations. Do you have any stories, I suppose, where you can share where you've seen it and you said you've seen the impact of that and they've come back and they've said, wow, Claire, it's really changed our business, our customer experience piece?
It has changed. I mean, we did a project with a retailer which had actually a lot of metal around in their environment. And we did quite a lot in terms of the layout and adding different colors to it to make it a lot warmer. And not only the customers felt really good, especially the ones who've been coming for a long time that realized there was a change, and they just, what have you done with that? What have you done with it? But then the staff, the employees were a lot more productive because they felt good in that environment as well. And so it's the what we don't realize is that environment, the outer energy affect our inner energy. And so when you are changing your environment, you are aligning that environment with your inner energy, which will make you more productive, more creative, make you more relaxed. We talk about well-being all the time, right? And this power, I call it, so this energy works on the subconscious level, and that's sometimes why it's a little bit, when you're not in that holistic path, perhaps you may and then you're more black and white, so, right, what are you on about there, and actually making a few changes just to make them realize that every time they walk past and they've got some nice pictures on the wall. We had I worked with construction company, and it was really interesting because they were all over the place, and they seemed to be chaotic. They could never finish, their project. There was something else coming up, and actually I went into the office, and so interesting, all of the pictures on the wall were half finished buildings.
Wow.
And I just looked at it all around. I just sat there whilst they were talking, and I just listened to what they were saying, and I said, look around you. You're surrounding that half-finished buildings. Change all those pictures and put pictures of, finished building, beautiful houses, and your beautiful whatever you've done. And so when you are sometimes in your environment, you're just so in it, you don't realize it's happening around. And the subconscious picks it up. If there's something that is around you that you don't like, that, you're keeping because it was given to you by your grandmother and you feel like you have to have it, but every time you walk past it, your subconscious is saying, I hate that picture, I hate that picture, I hate that picture. And this is how, this is what the subconscious does. The subconscious is here to keep us safe. And so it looks around, without you knowing, and then it makes sure that it keeps you safe. So we need to surround ourselves by beautiful things who makes us feel emotionally connected. When you're looking at it, yes, you love this, or you want this, or it smells good. Using smells is very, very powerful in retail to really create an environment where people are going to subconsciously, they're connected already. So you know that you've seen that advert on when you go in the supermarket and it smells of bacon or it smells of sausages, all you do is you go to the bacon and you buy the bacon, right? When I worked at Disney World, we used to put the essence of French bread in the air conditioning. So the French pavilion, the baguette, there was queues all day long in the French pavilion, in the boulangerie, the bakery, because of that smell throughout the park. You could only smell the French bread. So very, very powerful. Some very small changes can make a really huge difference to your retail business to connect on that emotional level. Very, very powerful.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. And I'm just, as you're saying bread, without me realizing it, and smelling and fresh baguettes, you can actually feel your mouth salivate. It's a total connection piece, isn't it? Definitely, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, so again, it's I call it BizShui marketing, but BizShui marketing is how do you connect with your customers, who are looking at your website. They can't smell the bread, but you could actually use sensory words which are going to make them think that they're smelling the bread. They're going to start, the sliver in the mouth, it starts, slivering. You're going to start thinking about a baguette. You're going to start getting up and going to your kitchen and start looking, where's my French bread? And on your website, what colors do you use? What photo, what image how do you connect with your customer? What colors do you use and representing your brand? And all those together will make that connection on that subconscious level.
Yeah, it's really interesting, Claire. It's very interesting, and I think it's a concept really I've never heard, but it's relevant. I think it's relevant because we do it, as you said, on a subconscious level without realizing it, which is, I think, magic, really. going back to mystery shopping, because this and I'm going to go back into this, and I'll tell you why. I was a manager for a long time, and I'm going to be totally honest here with you, Claire. I used to be afraid of the mystery shopper. I used to hear there was a mystery shopper out and about. They'll be visiting the stores in my region during this month, and my God, the fear of God was instilled in me that that particular day, if I had a delivery in, or if someone rang in sick, I'd be panicking, going, this is the day the mystery shopper is going to come in, and I'm going to be stuck behind the till serving a customer. I'm not going to go out, and I'm not going to get that greeting or approach in. I'm going to get a big X in that box, and I'm going to lose my points. And I used to be in overdrive, right? And then they'd come in and I'd go, oh, was it me that was working? And that would be the first thing I'd look at after the score, depending on what it is, obviously. What have you learned from doing from those mystery shops, I suppose? I just find it fascinating, because I've never done mystery shopping myself. I've been on the receiving end of it, right. Which is obviously, you know, performance managing my team. My own line manager would look at, you know, it's a KPI, it's a deliverable in the business. But from your experience, because I'm very excited to talk to somebody that was that secret mystery shopper person, what have you gotten from that, or what has been, I suppose, the learnings from you from doing them through the years? Because you're 13 years in business. Yeah.
Yes, I mean that's the thing. I think when I set up the business, my background was hospitality, so I used to run the hotels, and that's when I realized that there was no mystery shopping company on the island. We used to have to fly over somebody from the UK to actually be able to do that. So of course, when, like you said, you knew that there was a mystery shopper on the island, right? The inspector is on the island. All the hotels knew that the AA inspector was on the island. You know, it was you know, first one sleeps one night at one hotel, everybody knows. So the idea was to really kind of help businesses delivering and taking that stigma of the beating on the head, like you've been feeling. And I think when I first started, it was very much like that. It was used as a beating post instead of actually making it very relevant, very authentic, very open for all the employees to actually know why there was a mystery shopping, you know, being done, and actually how that would improve their performance as well as the business's performance. So from the beginning of it, when, you know, there was a 2009 I started the business, so it wasn't really good during the recession, but you know, I thought if it's not during the recession, we need to look after our customers. When will it be, you know, relevant, right? So but it was a lot of education then, and being able to really show the benefit of mystery shopping. And like you said, it was very much about creating a program which was very open, very authentic, giving the questionnaires to the employees, doing a training with the employees, so they really understood, they really became part of it. And then, you know, then you can then look at the program and start the program. And it moved a lot as well. You know, it's changed a lot in 13 years from, you know, when I started, there was a lot of questions on probably process driven, you know, did they have their name badge and was the light on, and, you know, those kind of tick boxes. Whereas, you know, the later part of, you know, my business term was a lot more on that emotional connection. How did you feel when you actually walked in there? How did you feel when you left? You know, did they make you feel? And all those feelings, you know, questions which are very subjective. And at the beginning, when I started, we totally removed any subjective questions, were a lot more important, because it just makes you more aware of that customers. Even if it was a mystery shopper, they still had a feeling. If they'd been treated well, they'll feel good. If they'd been treated badly, they'll feel bad. You know, so you want to be able to know and start quantifying that emotion. And that's where, you know, the switch and the change within the mystery shopping companies have really been driven by, you know, changing from a very objective questionnaire to a lot more subjective and emotionally connected, to understand how can you really deliver an experience where your customers are going to feel they want to come back to you, and they're creating that loyalty. That's the only way to do it.
What would be the one thing, I suppose, over the last number of years that you've seen, it just keeps showing up again and again and again? So what do you feel we haven't nailed yet? Retail hasn't gotten it right yet. And then on the flip side, what have we have gotten right? I have a few kind of pet peeves that I have with the industry and certain things, but as a consumer, what do you feel is our retailers missing the trick on at the moment?
Well, I'd have to say the environment piece of it, because I'm just being a lot more aware of it now. And, you know, I was in Dubai, a big super mall, and I walked into that shop, and there was no connections, no feelings. The staff were not engaged. They were talking to each other. You tried to engage, they were not bothered. So it may just be that particular company, but the culture that the culture of your company will make everything that you do. So we're coming back to that culture, that value, that care, you know, that way. So we really, you know, when you're starting a business, think about what is that culture, what are you going to ingrain, how you're going to inspire your employees to really kind of be engaged in it, and the environment of it, you know, will engage. I didn't want to stay in that shop. Really, I don't want to be staying in that shop. That I picked up what I needed to pick up. I really looked at it and thinking, actually, you know what, I'll leave it and I'll go and buy it somewhere else. So really generally caring about, you know, about what your customers want. There's, I know there's sales target to reach, and, you know, shelves to fill, and, you know, those kind of things. But actually, if you look after your customers, you'll have a lot more sales that by filling your shelves up, whilst your customers is trying to find things. There is, it's getting better. I think, of course, the technology has really helped retail industry to get to a much better place. Of course, when it doesn't work and the employee says, oh, the computer's not working, it's not my fault, that just doesn't help. But, you know, usually the technology throughout has been immense in terms of development, and how fast and how much everything is really it's, what's that word? It's integrated into each other, and actually helping that a smooth transition between the sales and the orders, and everything together makes it so much simpler. So we need to use technology, of course, but we need not to forget our customers in front, definitely, and the employees who are using that technology as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's another way that we can connect with the customers, that they're not just in our store. We have these lovely things at our fingertips now, these phones.
Oh, right.
So we're 24/7 on our phone, really. So as a retailer, we really need to be thinking about how are we touching, what are those touch points outside of the business from a digital perspective. Definitely. I think definitely the customer experience. I think people skills, there was a study done recently, people skills in 2030 is going to be one of the biggest areas for jobs from a skills basis that people are going to be outsourcing and looking for. And I do think that these play a great role, but they're actually in the other side of things, it can be a bit of a blocker when it comes to communicating with people. Touching on, I suppose, the digital piece from a Feng Shui perspective, how do we incorporate that? You talked about the colors and connecting. Have you seen any great organizations connecting with customers from a digital perspective on your travels or anywhere else?
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, there's some incredible organizations, especially during the pandemic. I mean, it's gone really amazingly. The way people have used technology, whether you're looking at fashion, they're on the fashion, just and then you can change the clothes, you can change the makeup, you can that technology is so powerful to make your customer connected by with you. So I think definitely the pandemic has moved whoosh, so far forward, and some companies have taken it totally, I've embraced it totally, and I've gone totally creative. Some big retailers on the catwalk, there's been some amazing stuff done, it is using the technology in a way. Again, I think it's about understanding your customers. If you are a brand and your customers are on their phone, go on your phone. If you are a brand and your customers come to your shop, well, maybe you don't need to spend that much money on a phone app, but making sure that your staff is trained properly, and so again, understanding your customers, where they are, where they buy, what they do, what they want from you is really important. So that technology piece in there is really important to helping with that customer loyalty in the long term, so that life cycle, like your customer life cycle, so you're increasing that loyalty and you're keeping your customer for a long time by really understanding them and making them feel that you generally care about them, and they're not just a number, really.
Yeah, definitely. Just touching on what you said there, that it's not just a number. We've noticed, obviously, especially in I'm based in Ireland, the Great Resignation, as they call it, and retail and hospitality are really struggling to recruit people, and they're actually having to go abroad to bring in people to fill the vacancies, because they're so vast at the moment, especially in hospitality and retail. They seem to have left the industry. Now, you touched on something earlier where you said culture, and it just jumped out at me straight away, because when I hear of the Great Resignation, I go, what a time to reinvent your organization's culture when something like this is happening, this shift. What kind of areas do you feel from your Feng Shui perspective, would you look to focus that in an organization around that culture piece?
Well, my whole business, the whole BizShui is all about the culture piece. It's about really, it's a very comprehensive approach to the physical environment, the personal state of being, and the experience that you're delivering. So that's kind of that is the culture. If you're looking at creating a goal culture, go and get my book and then read about it, and then you can look at all the areas, because they're all affecting each other. The environment will affect the person will affect the way they behave and the way they give service. And we've always said that, hire for attitude. You can train everything else, right? But hire for attitude, sit down, look at your recruitment questions. Do you recruit with values in back of your mind? Do you ask emotional intelligence questions? Do you ask questions that you're going to personally feel a rapport with, or do you just go with a tick box and those metrics, and that kind of thing? So making it very much, I know I hate that word, soft skills. I really hate that word. I'll call it essential skills, because actually no one can be in an organization if they don't have those essential skills: building a rapport, connecting, listening, understanding, those emotional intelligence, a bit of resilience in there, and then you've got somebody who can do a great job anywhere you put them. Anywhere you'll teach them, the professional skills, you teach them that, but if they've got a bit of those soft skills in them, they will go anywhere. Yeah,
love that. So definitely look at emotional intelligence as a focus point if we're questioning candidates. Hire an attitude, that stood out to me there. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Introducing those 5 elements you talked about in your Feng Shui with your business, and definitely picking up Claire's book, BizShui, 9 Keys to Feng Shui, Your Business for Success. So it's out now, so get it. It's hot on the shelf. It was just released last month. So if you're curious about how this will impact your business, definitely pick it up. And listening to Claire and what she said, she knows this industry really, really well. And we want to retain people. We want to create a culture. So if this is going to help your culture, it's a no-brainer to go out and get that book and see how you can impact your organization. I've loved listening to you speak today, Claire.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, it's been a pleasure to listen to, and all of your golden nuggets. And I hope people had a pen and wrote it down, and if not, listen back again and write down a couple of bits that Claire has spoke about, because definitely will impact your business in some way. I'd like to thank Claire for her time this morning, coming on and speaking to me, and hopefully we can grow your retail organization. Thank you so much, everyone.